Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. I have Kim Rafferty with us with the Birmingham City Council. She's chairman of the Transportation Committee. Is that the way to say that?
Yes, it is.
And we're going to ease into another subject that's near and dear to all the citizens of this area, and that is I-2059 and what's going on near the Civic Center particularly. I suppose that's where the bulk of the work is being scheduled to be performed.
Well, all of the bridgeway in that small section is going to have to be completely replaced. It's outlived its structural purpose. It's outlived its safety standards, as we've seen through the years with chunks of it falling out. And Mr. Cooper with AlDOT has been trying to find a plan to renegotiate that whole roadway. At this point...
What do you mean? By redirecting it, moving it around?
That's a little too late to look at building a whole new interstate throughway somewhere else. And if you go through places like Louisville, they've got miles and miles of downtown interstate. You know, we just have this one breach, so to speak, straight through the northern side of town. But what he has to do is recalculate and reorganize the entrances and exits off the interstate. A lot of it has created, as you know, we have a lot of accidents, especially going from Red Mountain Expressway onto 2059 and then in Malfunction Junction with all of the changes. And so he's trying to improve that, address some issues concerning noise, with the new construction format that he's doing, with the drop-in bridge platforms. That means that the downtime of the bridges will be less, but it has to be done sequentially. There are some things you can do tandem, but at this point he's got to completely redesign the access ways into the corridor so they can handle the traffic. So he's improved most of the corridors coming into that area. Now he's going to start working on rebuilding the ramp systems so that when the traffic is coming off 65 or coming from the west on 59, they can get direct access to downtown. They just can't fly through on the interstate. And the same thing going east to west, that whole system. It's going to be inconvenient. Again, I learned to drive in New York. I've driven through Atlanta many, many times. Construction and inconvenience for a properly maintained interstate system should not be a burden, just an aggravation temporarily.
Right. Well, are you telling me that the bridges themselves that we've always parked under, that we're no longer allowed to park under if we're down near the courthouse area?
The structural integrity is being compromised. They are
that
quite
means
old.
They're falling down.
And according
the structural integrity is being compromised. I like that.
Well, they're very old. Again, 20 years ago, we should have been having this conversation. 20 years ago.
How old are they? I mean,
they were built in the
I remember. Can't be
60s,
that old.
50s, 60s. They had they're supposed to have, I believe it was a 30-year lifespan.
Yeah.
So they've passed the 30-year lifespan.
Well, technology's probably changed tremendously since
Correct, and our traffic numbers have increased considerably. But if we had had this conversation 20 years ago, we might be looking at cutting the ribbon on a new 5920 interchange that actually went north of the city, took it out of downtown Birmingham where there's more open space. But because we didn't, now our backs are up against the wall, to the point that Cooper has stated numerous times that if we don't do something, if we continue to stall him or prevent him, I've heard there's a lawsuit that's being put together to force the state to stop and look at other options, then he's going to have no choice but to shut it down. And
then what?
Then we'll all have to find a way around it.
We'll be back to First Avenue North?
Exactly.
Going east and west. What are the gripes that people are?
Some people
there's
want
a group out there that I'll give you a fair shot if you want to come on, but I don't know exactly what they're complaining about.
Some, they don't want it. They don't want it to be an elevated roadway through downtown Birmingham between those buildings.
Like Isn't that what it is now?
There are limited options. We can't widen it much more, and that the road system, even the way we have it built, in about 10 years, if Cooper builds it the way it is, it'll still max out in about 10 to 15 years. That's unless the way we travel changes because of those traffic loads. But they want it to sink it. Okay, sinking seems like a wonderful idea unless you know anything about geology in downtown Birmingham. We have a lot of problems with underground waterways. Downtown Birmingham was never built to be a subterranean city, and the way the declination coming into and coming out of the area, if you were to sink it, would be kin to riding a roller coaster. So although it can be done, safety-wise, it's not a good thing. And then you have to look at nitrous oxides and VOCs that we create through the exhaust on our cars. That forms ground-level ozone. So they're going to have to filter all of that out of the tunnel system that they put in.
Yeah.
Now, they've also complained they want it dropped to ground level.
Well, you remember Boston had this thing called the Big Dig or something like that, I think is what it was called. Wasn't that what they were trying to accomplish, is go underneath?
Yeah, go underneath. There's not enough room to do it. That's the biggest problem. The window of opportunity is so short that you would literally be coming in and going straight down and then coming straight out.
Yeah.
So we just don't have enough room to do something like that. Dropping it down to ground level is the same problem, except that you really do divide the north and the south of Birmingham, because now you don't have the cross streets anymore. That also, again, brings more of emissions problems. Right now, the EPA's lowers their standards on ground level ozones, and right now for the Birmingham region, we've only cleared by 2% the last 2 years under the new standards. So if you drop all of the traffic to ground level, all of that ozone is going to be created, and it's going to be trapped in downtown Birmingham. So your entertainment district's not going to smell so nice.
Right.
You know, the downtown streets, all of that pollution is going to be trapped down there. So that's not a viable option. The third one has to do with rerouting it, which is a wonderful option. The city already took the first step in issuing a resolution requesting that ALDOT seek funding to begin the feasibility studies. The process is long and arduous, and you're looking at 20 to 25, 30 years and about $200 million more, if not $1 billion more in expenditures to relocate it. So time is of the essence right now. The powers that be waited till the last minute. It's either going to fall down or we're going to have to replace it.
Well, you heard it here first, so be watching and be careful out there.
Yes.
We'll be right back. Do not leave us. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Don't go away.